And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies both new and old with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right. We're going to keep it positive, people. Anytime we say anything negative about a film, you're going to hear this sound. That means we're going to drink, because this is a drinking podcast to keep us positive. No stuffy criticism here. We want to talk about loving movies. We love to love movies. This is our midweek episode. Thank you so much for joining us.
Again,
we're talking about Parasite and should have seen that by now.
Yeah.
That's the show.
And it is me that should have seen it by now. The funny story is we mentioned this earlier in the week when we did our first episode, and I confessed recently that I haven't seen this by now. I confessed to a couple of guys on the Post Sanity podcast as well in the UK that I haven't seen this by now. And I've literally been bluffing my way through conversations for 12 months. Because I know I should have seen this, and I try to watch all like the best picture stuff, and like I should have seen it, and I hadn't, and I was really embarrassed, and so now I've seen it.
Available for streaming on Hulu with your subscription.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about Parasite, but first, John, got any shout outs for us today?
Shout outs. We have a beer sponsor. His name is Carlos Barroza. You can follow him on Instagram. The handle is C Barroza Bar 2019. That's CBARROZOBAR 2019. And as always, the music you hear on this episode and every single episode is provided by the artist Dasein. If you want to download this music, it's available for free. If you want to head over to soundcloud.com/Dasein-artist. Jeff, let's set it up and then let's put this fucker right back on Dave and ask him what he thought.
Okay, so Parasite came out in 2019. It was written and directed by Bong Joon-ho. It won 4 Oscars, all 4 of which Bong Joon-ho got. So if you like your Oscars, you know that he just cleaned up. And by the end of it, he just was like, I ran out of people to thank.
Also, please take any pronunciations on tonight's show with a grain of salt. We got it. Yeah.
This is a South Korean film, of course. Now, Bong Joon-ho had already crossed over into Hollywood / into American culture. Not that it's a step up. I'm not saying that. I think anybody who's been paying attention to the world now understands that cinema that happens abroad is potentially surpassing anything that could be done here. But he did have an international appeal with films like Snowpiercer, which starred one of the Chris's, Evans. And Jamie Bell.
All these Chris's look alike. Sorry, yeah.
He had Okja, which starred Tilda Swinton as a strange character, Jake Gyllenhaal, who maybe swung and missed. Fuck.
Paul
anyway,
Dano. We'll talk about it. Yeah.
Paul Dano. That's not my favorite movie, and it's mostly because of him. Okay, anyway, but it was about them making gigantic meat animals, and this one girl like loved hers and didn't realize that it was a science experiment, and so they're about to kill it. Anyway, so they're talking about that. So and then he mentioned at the Oscars when he was winning, when he won Best Director, and he beat Scorsese, he beat Tarantino, some big names, and he said Quentin Tarantino used to put his movies on. Quentin always makes a list of his favorite movies from the year, and unsurprising to everybody is there are a lot of films not made in America, and Bong Joon-ho, a lot of his movies were making the list. So it wasn't too much of a surprise to people who knew movies that Parasite was coming out, that it could be something to keep an eye on. And then it very, very quickly became a sensation. And a lot of it was awards season driven. So this is my setup. I'll read the description of what it's about, but I'm very curious about Dave here because sometimes, as I had said in the last week episode, there's this Oscars stink, where when the Oscars tell you something's good, you almost want to say, go fuck yourself, Oscars. Especially 2019 was another year that was underrepresented for non-white films and non-white filmmakers and actors and such. And Parasite was sort of the only exception that year, and then it ended up winning everything, which was not necessarily related to that. It won because it deserved to. We should say that outright. This is a movie that was good, but it got swept up by the media storm. And so I'm very curious that here Dave had never seen it. I'm almost wondering, Dave, if that was part of it, was because everybody was, because of the award season stuff.
I mean, we all know I'm no fan of the Oscars as such. Like, exactly. I used to love it. I watched it ever since Billy Crystal did intros and musical numbers and stuff like that. Like, it was a thing. And then I came here and I found out how it worked. and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that tarnished a little. And so I every year I try to watch everything that is nominated for like Best Picture and for all the major like top tier Oscars. And last year when we did this year when we did our segments was the first time I've ever actually accomplished it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's just like, I don't feel like these are for me.
Right. Well, we'll talk about your reaction soon. I'm glad that
Yeah.
you're keeping us stringing on. Let's say what the movie's about, and then I'll pass it off. So the one sentence description here, which I'm reading right on IMDb. Again, this is on Hulu if you want to watch this anytime soon. Greed and class discrimination threaten the newly formed symbiotic relationship between the wealthy Park family and the destitute Kim clan. And before I pass it off, I just very, very simply emphasize that there are two families, the wealthy Park family and the destitute Kim clan. This is about classism, and you never forget when watching this movie that it's called Parasite. The movie is called Parasite, but they do the metaphor very, very well. I shouldn't be speaking about my opinion yet, but
you can. It's fine.
But I'll just say the one line that is looming throughout this movie that is spoken by a character is, when the light comes on, all the cockroaches scatter. And I think, and then you have people and humans and families and classism at play. It is fucking fascinating. But let's talk about the actual film itself. We're not going to get to Dave first because we've already hyped him up a lot. John, this is, I'm assuming, was your second watch of this film. What was it like? Take two.
Really, you're going to start with me after Dave should have seen it by now? I kind of want to hear what Dave has to say first, because
all right,
I don't want to pass it off here. I will say this. I'm going to push back just a little bit, and I think it's going to raise the stakes on how good this movie is. I think 2019's 2020 Oscars was one of the best of that decade. Let me just read off really quickly the nominations for Best Picture that year. Parasite won, Ford versus Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. What a year. I thought it was really fantastic. So the fact that this one did rise to the top, I remember in theaters thinking, when I went to go see this in New York, I remember thinking like, there's a lot of people in this movie seeing a foreign language film. Kind of felt that way with Roma, but way more. I think even more people saw it because there are so many wonderful, thrilling, suspenseful, violent aspects to this movie that make it more interesting, maybe to a larger audience. So I do have some fun thoughts. I really love this movie. And I have some fun thoughts that are going to lead up to, I think, how Bong Joon-ho arrived here. But I want to hear, Dave, I want to hear what you think first before we start talking about how we got to Parasite and why this one spoke so loudly in the zeitgeist. Why did this one pop in a year like that?
I feel like this popped because it was tight. Like, this is a statement on wealth equality disguised as a comedy until it's not. Like, it's funny, it's quirky, and the dialogue is snappy, the jokes are thick and fast. I fell in love at the first shot. When you've just got like this shot through the window with life happening outside, and there's just these socks hanging in the foreground, and it really summed up that and
then it cranes right
down, and there's like, and I laughed out loud 5 times in at least the first 10 minutes. Like,
really funny.
It was funny and it was quirky, and these characters endeared themselves to you, and you're like, these are some fucking characters. And then they started becoming insidious in this household, and you're rooting for them. And the only thing I could compare it to, from like an American standpoint, is the film Falling Down with Michael Douglas, where it's a film about how, like, this guy just decides one day he's had enough and goes on a fucking rampage. He gets out of his car, and he walks into a burger joint, and the burger's not what is in the picture, and he rants about all the things that are wrong with society, and you're on board. But there's one moment where a guy is having a heart attack on a golf course, and he's mocking him, just sitting there while this guy's dying. He's like mocking him, and you're like, oh shit, I've gone too far. And like, this has gone past a point that I'm comfortable with going to. And this film does exactly the same thing to you. Like, you're on board with these guys, and then it gets to a point where, oh wait, this is okay. This, like, they find a literal fucking bat cave in the house, and then there's these other characters, and then it all goes to hell, and you're like, oh, this okay, I was on board for this, and then it turns the tables on you and makes you think. It's like, okay, this is not like,
Yeah, I mean,
this is
Jeff
a real
mentioned
problem.
earlier, who's the parasite, right? The
Yeah.
audience member, them. Like he does a really good job with that. I want to mention this early on just because I think it's important because as Jeff said, he did cross over into more mainstream commercial Hollywood stuff. Okja and Snowpiercer are English films. They're English language films.
Right.
Snowpiercer also
And
has
neither-
a series spin-off as well on HBO.
Yeah, which apparently is very successful, and I haven't seen that series at all.
I've seen it. It's pretty good.
So apparently Bong Joon-ho, I've only seen these 3 movies, so I don't want to pretend like I can speak to the other ones, but just reading about him and seeing what the synopses are about, he loves writing about classism.
Yes.
All of his movies are about that to a certain point. And Okja did not land for me at all, if I'm being totally honest. I don't think it translated well. His comedy didn't work for me in an English language. And Snowpiercer was, for me, too indicative. I still had fun. It's entertaining. Yeah, it's entertaining and it's directed well. But it's a little too indicative for me. This one, when he accepted, I'm pretty sure this was when he accepted for Best Director. He got up there and he said, the more personal, the more creative. The person who said that in this room was Martin Scorsese. So he kind of gave it up to Martin Scorsese. Bong Joon-ho went back to his roots. He started writing this screenplay and he kept it in the Korean language. He made it personal. Clearly, it's a subject matter he's not done with. I guess he wanted to continue writing about this theme. And I just think it's so refreshing that as we're talking in this world of inclusivity and diversity and everything that we are starting to say, yeah, let's do that. How do you do that? And the application is so important. I think this is a perfect example. It wasn't that he tried to make it safe and okay for Americans to think they could approach this film. He did it in Korean. He did it set in South Korea. It's a South Korean story, and there was room in there for us.
And
just like any other really good piece of art, there's room for you if you're willing to approach it. And I think that's why it's
some of the imagery as well. Like when they talk about the kids seeing a ghost, and they show the imagery, and it that is fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
It's all universal, right? The more
but it's also
specific, the more universal.
Like it is also beautifully shot. There's not a single shot in this that isn't interesting. And even to the point where they mess with color, like when they keep showing the collection of stuff they have on the wall that leads down to the basement, and it's that one wide shot of all the shelves with everything on it. And then another family moves in, and their stuff is just a little bit colder. And it's like they've messed with the color. And it's like this is not a happy place anymore. It's not home. And somewhat like it's almost like these are imposters or something. There's so much. Like my favorite shot in the film is when they drop down on the stairs just before the flood happens, and the front of the shot is dirtied up by all the cable wires running through the foreground of the shot, and there's water running everywhere. It's the most beautiful shot that. Like I'm storing that in the bank. I'm gonna fucking use that.
And it's
at
funny,
some
right?
point.
The paradox of that everyone says that too. I'm not calling you out. All of us said that. Everyone was so affected by the flood scene and the scene in the middle that Dave's referring to, where they talk to each other before they go to their apartment.
Yeah.
And what is he doing aesthetically right there? He's turning it on its head, isn't it? The most beautiful sequence in this film is the grossest, most depraved, shit-filled sequence you may have ever seen. When that moment where she's sitting on the toilet,
and
trying to keep the shit from overflowing out of it. It's gorgeous. There's a beauty to it.
Yeah.
So again, playing with the parasite motifs. I also think, Dave, I'm glad you mentioned Falling Down. It's an independent film that Mike Douglas did as a passion project. I don't think most Americans know what that movie is. So I think one reason why people were
have a look at that. That's
it's good.
fun until it's not.
It's worth seeing.
Yeah.
What I kept hoping that people were going to see from Roma happened in 2018, then this happened in 2019, Oscars of 2020. I think what a lot of let's say not smart house American audiences, let's say people who took a chance on this movie that was supposed to be great, Parasite. I think a lot of what people were reacting to in American cinemas was Bong Joon-ho, like so many excellent foreign filmmakers, he played with form in a way that a lot of Americans aren't used to. So a lot of people had difficulty placing how to describe this in terms of genre and stuff. what'd you say, Dave? It's a comedy until it's not.
Yeah.
And I think that's a perfect way of describing it. But I think we can only relate to that because we've seen it.
Yes.
It's kind of hard to describe what it feels like to break form. And clearly, he's a master. He is influenced by so many great filmmakers from around the world. And it's always it's just so refreshing when somebody pulls it off. And I think he did that brilliantly. And that's why you probably can rewatch this many, many times because you almost can't put your finger on why this movie is
If you want to put the beats on it, it's a comedy. It's a comedy. It's a comedy. It's Ocean 11 family scammers. A little bit more comedy. Then it starts to get darker, 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 darker. And then it comes out as a family statement at the end. And there's a beautiful ending to this film as well that it's so ambiguous. You're not sure if it's a real scene or if it's what he's imagining in the future, if this actually happened, but it's still, you get the feels from it, and that's
surreal.
That's just,
there's a surreality to the end of it.
Fucking masterful filmmaking, all round on this film.
And Jeff,
it reminded me of the end of the It reminded me of the end of the 25th Hour. If you guys have seen that.
Yeah. Oh God, damn it! Good job. Yeah, hats off to Spike Lee for that one. I have watched a lot of foreign film, and I have this sensation all the time. I'm not sure if the acting is as good as I think it is because I don't speak the language, and I do think that's important. But God damn it, the performances in this, even though I don't speak Korean, they seem to be brilliant.
Yes.
I mean, it seems like the relationships it's very well cast. Clearly, the dynamics, they seem to fit well together. But everybody has something really unique and interesting. And when you see performances like this, you often wonder, did he sit back with his arms crossed in the casting room while a bunch of people came in and did it differently? And was he waiting for somebody to find these kind of eccentricities, this kind of unorthodox way of, delivering this kind of stylistic dialogue and characters? Or was he directing? It really doesn't matter. Yeah. But I think everybody understood that this was, once again, it was unique. You almost never see despicable characters in typical American drama. Again, let's shout out one of the other nominees here. I think Quentin Tarantino does that really well. Pulp Fiction exploded, I think, and it shot him to the top. I think Paul Thomas Anderson did that with Boogie Nights. There's something unusual when what he was saying earlier, when you can find your way into the despicable and then kind of start feeling like you're a part of what's wrong with this drama, and then you turn that judgment around on yourself. There seems to be something to that.
But it's also something you said is also very interesting. It's you don't know if the acting's good or not, but this is still a magnificent fucking film.
The acting is good. It's just that our vocabulary for what's good and bad acting, we just have to throw out the window.
The fact that whether we know whether they're acting good or not transcends that.
It's, you know what?
Right. That is a phenomenal accomplishment.
John, our acting teacher, I'm sure you can attest. You can tell in the relationships. When you can read each other's body language and they're having a conversation and you know what's going on and you know how they think about it, you know how they feel about it, and there's a world that's being created just in their behavior, then it's good. You don't need to sit there and be like, well, he said this line a way that I would. No. When you understand where they are, where they're coming from, and a lot of it's shot well because some of it's stylized. I think part of the fun of this movie, for again, we can only speak from our points of view, which is Western. I know Dave is from the far southeast. I don't even know what you call it, Australia. But yeah, since we didn't grow up with the language and the culture that this film is in, it's hard to come at it from exactly what they're saying. But for me, everybody I know who's recommended Parasite, they just say it's you think you understand what's going on and then it gets crazy. Nobody talks about the genre. And what I would say as far as to compare acting and then genre, some of it's highly stylized. So when they go to the wealthy family's house, especially those first couple shots, I forgot the mom was passed out at the beginning. I also forgot that the way the mom's eyes glossed over and looked at, so the story is the son of the poor family becomes the first one in the house. Let's call him the first parasite, so to speak. He becomes a tutor on the recommendation from his university friend. And then he recommends his sister to be an art teacher, creates a fake backstory. And then the sister creates a fake backstory for the dad to be a driver. And then the dad creates a fake backstory for the mom.
These guys are the most insidious family ever, and you love them.
Exactly. So it is very insidious. So that's the backstory. When the mom looks at the kid, the mom has this moment where she's talking to the floor as if she's on Quaaludes. And then she looks at him, and it reminds me of the way the guy looks at the young boy in The Shining. It's stylized in a point where like when we were just watching this poor family suffer, it was a completely different style. So like everything has this point of view and it's magnificent, but there is a lot of acting books will come down to status is a huge thing that to determine how to play roles, how to play characters, how to differentiate characters. The dad in this story, and just looking at it from a Western point of view, the dad by Western standards is a total failure. He has no job. He barely is even looking for a job. And then later in the movie, he says a line like, when you have 500 university graduates applying to be a doorman and all 4 of us have jobs, how lucky are we?
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit. So like the dad seems like a fuck up and he's like, they're sleeping on the floor. And also the mom seems to be fine with this. In an American movie, the mom would hate her guts and want to get out, right? Like none of this makes any sense, but their relationships to that reality make this film seem so easy to understand. And back to the directing of that, it's not sexy to shoot poor people. It's not. Look at every single famous comedy on networks. They have so much money. Modern Family goes to Costco and spends $100,000 and it's funny. Like nothing about being poor is fun or funny. Filmmakers almost try to stay away from it unless it's in the 60s where they're hippies and on drugs. Or you know what I mean? Like they need an in because just being poor is not fun or sexy. He does this where just when it gets claustrophobic, he backs away, opens it up, and then it's beautiful and magnificent. Or they go in this home, and all of a sudden you're in a dream, and you forget the fact that this is a poor family, that their life sucks. I mean, it's like it's brilliant.
That family had such charisma. I was rooting from them for the beginning.
Right, but if they lost their job at any minute, they're back to living in the basement, poor, eating flies for dinner.
Let me ask you guys,
when they lost their home, it was a fucking tragedy. I felt that
tragedy.
Yeah.
So let me ask you both this question then, because. Yeah, I wish every time I see a movie like this,
that's the thing. They lost their home, and all the rich people are having a party.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "That's your message. Ram the fuck home, but ram the fuck home in such a good way you don't mind." It's like, no, I get it.
Okay, so I was just about to ask you, do you feel like the theme? It's really one, I think. Do you think how thrilling and how captivating this story is? Do you think a lot of people walked out able to talk about and think about what the commentary on this movie is supposed to be? That they're happy because they're rich, as the mom says. The smell thing, the shame of being poor, the classism. Do you think a movie like this lands enough so that people, maybe in Korea, maybe in any first world society, second world society, can say, look, the corruption is so intense that this movie, as entertaining as it was also, upsetting to me, made me think about it. For both of you, did you feel like you appreciated it enough to actually have that become emotional for you, or did you enjoy the movie too much for it to be emotional? You know what I mean? Like, it's so thrilling that I think some people may have been like, God, that was fun, and they just walked out. This
got me. It's like, it's one of those ones that it kind of it's doing a little bit of sugarcoating. It like it uses the comedy to get you in there, and then it teaches you something, and you're like, oh fuck, I just learned something. I didn't mean to learn something in this movie, and it like sneaks it across the line because they've like it goes sideways so fucking fast that you're in no matter what because you've already invested in this family.
Yeah.
So it's a masterstroke of manipulation, and it's a director's job to manipulate people into feeling something, and this really does it. Like, you're rooting for this family, and then it's like, oh, the reason all of this is happening, and everything that comes out with like the basement underneath with the secret husband living down there and stuff, and like this whole side thing with a guy living under the house who just worships these people, and it's a thing where
another Parasite.
And I've seen this in like some aspects of American culture, and no one's willing to like talk about it so much, where you get these people who worship people who give them a job.
Right.
And it's thank you for giving me a job. And it's like, okay, great. Or it's great that you have employment, but there's limits. There's limits to that. And I feel like this kind of went to the point where open worship, maybe set some boundaries.
I think I think it's important to note first and second viewing for a film that is this entertaining and also this deep, because this comes up a lot in our podcast, but there are some movies that there's depth if you want it, but you don't need the depth to get it. You know what I mean? So it's not going to alienate people that don't want to talk about classism, even though they know what's going on. It's all fine. And I said the thing about the 25th hour because at the end, what got me the most out of this film, and there were a lot of parts that were really sad and a lot of parts that were really entertaining. Chloe came in right before the twist. The twist, and she couldn't stop watching it. She's like, man, I wish I watched the beginning and now I want to watch till the end, but it's already midnight and I'm watching it late because we got home late. And she was like, fuck, I wish I could watch the whole thing. It's like, I know.
It's on HBO. On Hulu.
The worst thing is that, especially now in America in 2021, we understand, and to answer your question while I'm doing this, John, no, I don't think this movie's going to do that because I see what's going on, and I don't think there's one piece of art that's going to that's going to create world peace. Not when like half the country thinks
absolutely
there's
like
Satan.
I mean,
eating,
okay, granted,
like
not here.
I just meant for you guys.
So but it did for me. So what got me the most was the son at the end, the coda of the film, the 25th hour moment, where the son says, I have a plan. The plan to get back at this family is to become really rich and buy the house. And it's like, and that to me is so important in a movie like this. And it's entertaining. So like, if you just want the pure entertainment value, it's still kind of fun to see this plan. And it's like, oh, that's a good, it's fun. But to see that, one of my favorite things on Twitter recently was somebody invested $100 million to a think tank to come up with why they think homelessness exists. And somebody responded, mirrors are $10 at Target. Because if you have $100 million to invest in this shit, that's your fucking answer. Give it to the people and give them a home. And all of a sudden, boom, and say you lose your home if you don't get a job in a year. Or whatever your answer to that solution is. Get the fuck out of here. These people are down there. And I think what they're trying to say is that because just enough people allow for this let's call it capitalism, but this system, you get just enough. For instance, in America, it's all about 401ks. You don't want to fuck with the system too much because you lose your retirement. So even though it's like you're just getting a piece of the pie, it's like you don't want to lose that piece of the pie. So you hang on and you just so the wealthy people supposedly give the people just enough to get through the day. But this kid in this film, Parasite, at the end of the movie he wants to become the problem. So he's a cockroach who wishes he was a human man that stomps on cockroaches. And it's like, you just see the cyclical nature of this. And I don't know if Bong Joon-ho was specifically saying, this is never going to end because we're not going to let this end. Because we idolize this. Even the poorest people who say this has to end, they think the answer to it ending is by becoming it. It's not going to end. So it's the first view versus, so anybody who's only seen this movie one time and is still listening, I'm not saying watch it to be moved, but it really, things like that started really bubbling up inside of me, and it really gave me the feels.
How about some standout? There's so many, but Dave, on your first viewing, if you were to walk away and somebody were to say, what was your favorite part, or what affected you the most? Was there a certain sequence? Because you're right, this movie is kind of divided up pretty cleanly into different sequences and genre styles and shit like that. Was there one that really stuck with you that maybe you've been thinking about at night since you watched it? Or
no. This film works as a whole. There is no singular part that stands out anymore from anything else. This movie is a story from start to end. Experience the entire thing. That's all I can recommend.
One thing I was
what about characters
surprised,
that stand out? Okay, you
any standouts? No, anything that
I really like
popped for you? Or?
It's going to change on second viewing, by the way, so it's okay to say it.
I really like the dad's understated performance.
Yeah.
Oh god damn it, he was.
Yeah.
I know. Maybe I'm biased. I thought he was the most brilliant out of an entire cast of brilliant actors. He did something that you can't teach. He did something you can't direct. I don't know if Bong Joon-ho has used him before. I have a feeling that they have worked together. I don't know if he wrote this for him. It was a perfect
he was
performance.
So good. I want to see something else he's done, and I'm going to look it up this week.
So I'm going to spin off you because what I remember, this scene bothered me a lot in the theater when I saw it the first time in a great way. It bothered me even more this time. I think I actually teared up this time, which is different than when you're watching it with people. The voyeur sex scene There's a sex scene when the rich family comes home and they're literally sitting there in their $5,000 pajamas on their $10,000 couch in their $40 million home, whatever, watching their kid, you know, through this amazing glass window, camping outside, and they decide, you know what, let's fuck each other right now because we can't.
They don't even decide that.
Free time.
He's just touching her. He
just starts to fucking touch her. He's like, let's take advantage of it. So they're doing whatever they want. Again, spoiler alert. Sorry, folks. And the poor family, the Parks, thought they had the home to themselves that night. They get surprised. So they are stuck. The metaphor of it. They're stuck underneath this coffee table, on their backs, literally backs against the wall kind of thing, like stuck in this position. They can't talk, they can't say anything. They just have to take this tension, this uncomfortableness. And in the midst of this conversation leading up to the sex between the Park couple, they talk about the smell of Mr. Park, the smell he has, and the look on his face. And I just thought
that's
that, like,
the catalyst.
If I were to cut the short film of this movie, it would have been the party scene where they're having fun and pretending they were rich leading up to this. And it really bothered me a lot. I can't stop thinking about it. And I don't know, it just made me sad. It made me a little uncomfortable when I saw it the first time in the theater. Sex scene, you're sitting around other people. There's the voyeur aspect of it. It made me very emotional this time. And I'm excited to rewatch this movie in the future and see what bothers me more, because again, there are so many thrilling aspects. I think the thrilling parts of this movie are not the best parts of this movie. They are amazing.
Yeah.
But he does so many things that you take for granted in context of how thrilling it is. And it's a masterpiece.
Also, it's really interesting when when the kid does interrupt them and they get the message, okay, sneak out now, they're dead asleep. And then the kid interrupts and everyone wakes up and like they're in the midst of sneaking out and the father's in the midst of sneaking out. The light comes on and he does the opposite of a cockroach. He freezes.
Exactly,
because he can't
I'm sorry, guys. Exactly. I can't help but think about this. I want to just say it out loud. Again, spoiler alert. This movie takes a crazy turn when Mr. Park just can't take the repression and oppression anymore. And he turns the knife for almost what seems like, I don't know if there's enough motivation other than the fact that he just can't take the shame anymore.
No, there's plenty of fucking motivation. There's plenty of fucking motivation. He fucking stabs
him right in the heart. And I'm sorry, but I couldn't help but think about our political issues right now. We like to talk a lot of shit about the other side of politics, the whatever. If we think low of the other side and the people that make up the other side, we have this, you know, this binary way of thinking right now. But you do that too much to a group of people, to a certain individual, they're going to fucking snap. So I hope that, you know, you see a movie like this, and as entertaining as it is, what I remember thinking in the theaters was, holy shit, not just as an audience member in the context of watching a really captivating film, but also what he was saying, that everyone has a fucking limit. Mr. Park, what did you say about his performance, Dave? The understated performance.
Yes.
You said that about a man who snaps and murders someone in front of like 30 people.
Yeah. Because
I just can't stop thinking about that.
That's the thing. He's understated up to that point. When he finally snaps, it's all the more poignant because he has underplayed this up to this point perfectly.
Yeah.
So just really quickly, this actor's name is Kang Ho Song, and his top 4 known fors on IMDb, dating back to 2003, are all Bong Joon-ho movies. He's in Snowpiercer. He's in The Host. He's in Memories of Murder.
Oh my god, I forgot that.
So anyway, he is now we have to see these movies because he's a master.
Yeah.
Have you not seen the Snowpiercer movie?
I have.
I saw it, and it I saw it way back when. I think we were still in Astoria, and I
didn't love it.
I liked it.
It's also very contained. So even in Parasite, there's some claustrophobic moments, and then they open them up really well. But it's Snowpiercer. It's hard to not be claustrophobic when you're on a train the whole time. So I got a little. Anyway,
Jeff, a standout for you, dude. Was there before you? Or you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. I didn't know if you had your second viewing.
The dad really is, because of the shame, especially for Western audiences like us. It's just a father figure you don't see very often, which is so interesting. Not that I would ever replace, obviously, my situation or any of my friends with that, but you said the shame builds up. You don't see the shame. I just literally gave a speech 10 minutes ago about how there's no shame. He doesn't have a job. He sleeps on the floor and he doesn't give a fuck. It's totally fine.
I mean,
that's the way life is.
There sort of is when he does the speech about the best plan is no plan.
Well, that's the thing. But he gets there after the flood and he loses his home. And the surprising thing where he's like, you can kill somebody or not, nothing matters. But rather than being a monk who thinks nothing matters, it's all in my head, he's a future murderer, a stabber who thinks nothing matters. It's crazy. For me, second viewing, Second viewing, very different from the other viewings. Second viewing, the mom of the wealthy family, which I already alluded to before, there's something going on behind her eyes that's like, so it actually makes the wealthy dad's job, I don't know if easy is the right word, but when he says like, oh, well, let's call it love. Like, they're, of course, the wealthy, loveless marriage or whatever. But, usually, again, Western movies, they probably, the old school movies might put a little bit of the stink on the woman just for whatever reason. Oh, she's needy. Look at Mad Men. It's, they do a really good job with that. But in this movie, you've seen the mom so much so that when the dad says like, oh, it's loveless, and it's like, this might be your fault, asshole. You know what I mean? Like there's something,
yes.
And the way she's kind of overbearing, but at the same time, she just really, really wants her kids to, without saying it, not be parasites. She doesn't want them to be the poor kids. So if they're an artist, they're going to be the best fucking artist in the world. So they can be the wealthy artists that design Kanye's albums, not the artists that are living in the sewers.
And I'm sorry,
so,
at this point, for all of us.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Seriously,
Cheers to this movie. This is a brilliant movie. You're doing yourself a disservice if, like me, you hadn't seen it till now.
Yeah. And
Jeff,
watch it, give it a year, watch it again. You'll get more out of it, really.
Jeff, I feel like you touched, and anyone can make these kinds of observations. There's no one way to watch a movie for sure. But I think the first time I watched this, it was a little bit more literal for me. And I was thinking about, okay, clearly he's playing with the metaphor of how the poor are parasites. For this time, I'm glad you brought her up. Mrs. Park. He's talking about Mrs. Park. I think money is the parasite. That's when I could not stop thinking about how unhappy they were, the seeming happiness. The conversation, again, in that scene that I love so much, when they're playing the poor family. Wait, I messed that up, didn't I? The poor family or the Parks. Is that correct?
No, the shit. I'm on the wrong tab.
I'm going up right now. Now.
That's for both of you.
I know. Yes, the rich family or the Parks. The rich family or the Parks.
Yes, correct. Sorry.
Okay, so when the poor family is having a party, they think they have the house for themselves, and they have this back and forth. And at one point, the mom says something about how happy they are, and the mom says they're happy because they're rich. And yet, we're getting to see the inside of the Parks, right? We're getting to see the inside of their relationship a little bit.
They're not happy.
Let's call it love. I don't think they're happy either.
No.
So I feel like what blew me away most this time is that the first time I saw this, I had a complete point of view from the poor people, because that's your main point of view. The second time I saw it, everyone. And I saw how everyone was a victim of this fucking parasite. No one was actually happy because of what money was doing to them. Even in their rich fucking glass house, literally a glass house, they still weren't happy. So when you can make a metaphor stretch like
kids
that.
aren't really happy.
Quick shout out to the 400 and something visual effects shots in this film.
Wow. Really? Yeah, shout them out.
Yeah, no, a lot of the
Number one.
We're gonna be here a while. Strap yourselves in. No, the like a lot of the exteriors of the house, and stuff are visual effects shots. It's all pasted together because that house obviously wasn't where it was. So like some of the exterior shots and stuff like that. Like there's 400 visual effects shots in this film.
God, where did you get the budget for this? Okay.
Really?
Well, I mean, the thing is, they're simple composite shots, but it's like they're seamless.
Yeah.
And you know what? Let's call it out, Dave. Jeff, you just said that. I don't know how far this amount of money in dollars stretches in South Korea, but the budget was only $11,400,000.
Yeah.
To anyone who doesn't make movies, that sounds like a lot. That's a very low budget movie in terms of Hollywood. Very, very low. I mean, it's not 1 million, 2 million, but it's way less than the 30 to 50 million mark, which is for this kind of movie in Hollywood, it would have been probably between 30 and 50 million.
Yeah, if anyone's curious, go to YouTube, where we're also on, and and type in Parasite VFX breakdown.
Type in the Love of Cinema podcast.
And once you're done listening to all the 60 odd episodes that are there, type in the Parasite VFX breakdown. It'll blow your mind. It'll ruin this film, but it'll blow your mind. It's like
maybe after the first viewing. Then.
Yeah, do it after the first viewing. But the effects that went into this are amazing and seamless.
Oh my God.
So every now and then, you guys, I know Jeff, you made this comment last week, and it's true. Sometimes the Oscars is not the, it's not going to point you to true north every year. It's not going to.
Right.
I think this was
Sometimes
a great year.
does,
and I'm so excited that Parasite won. Yeah, I love this year of movies. I think they're all worth watching.
I would give
really,
this a zero
really cool
stink
that
rating.
Parasite took it.
Zero Oscar
Good.
stink
Zero.
rating.
Doesn't have the
Yes.
Oscar stink.
It does
Awesome.
not smell like the.
No,
the
it
father.
smells like some other stuff about halfway through the movie, but yeah, no.
All right, friends. Well, I think
Yeah.
we did it.
It's on Hulu. It's on
think
Hulu.
we-
Give it a shot
we
if you
wrapped
haven't
it up.
seen it. by now.
I am
Hulu.
so sorry I hadn't seen this till now. Oh my God, watch this film.
Yeah. All right.
Jeff, tell
well,
us one more
friends,
time. What are we doing next week, dude?
Next week we're gonna do In the Heights. A coffee and I go, guys. In the Heights, so fucking
In
good.
the
And then we're-
Heights.
And then we are also going to do. Should have seen it by now. Singing in the Rain, 'cause I've never seen this movie. I have a
Jeff's
BFA.
never seen this, Jeff.
It's
I
gonna
have
be
a
good. If
Bachelor
you
of
haven't,
Fine Arts degree. I've never
you're just
seen this
buzzing
movie.
for that. I'm pretty sure I looked it up before this show. Singing in the Rain is available to stream for free on HBO Max if you're a subscriber. If you want to play along with us.
Or at
So
my
because-
house if you already own it like I do.
So, but
Yeah, and In the Heights will be on HBO
Everybody come to
Max
my house.
next
Yeah.
Friday, June 10th.
we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Take it easy, Film Fair.